Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a simple smart contract application. This is a decentralized application which uses a smart contract. In this course I'm going to teach you exactly all you need to know to create your own decentralized applications that work without a server but using the blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain in this case. I'm going to show you right now how to create a smart contract, how to create a decentralized application with Web3 and JavaScript, and how to deploy it on the network. First, we're going to create a simple decentralized blog application. This is a blog for publishing articles, just like Steemit. If you take a look at Steemit, we have several articles with the title, the content, the price, the author. In this case we will just use the title, the content of the article, the author, and the time it was published. It's just an Ethereum based decentralized blog platform with Solidity. So let's get started with the application. Open your text editor. I'm using Atom because it's my preferred text editor, and then create a folder. I click on open folder, then I create a new folder by going to the desktop and creating a new folder. I will call this decentralized blog 2 because I already have one. Select the folder and create a new file which will be called blog.solidity. So the first thing is that we have to define the version of Solidity that we are going to use in this application. 2.4.23. I think that's correct. Yes, 2.0423. That's the version that we are going to use in this application. Then we create the contract and we write the logic inside the contract. Every time I create a new project that I don't really know exactly what to do, I like to write the steps or the things that I think will be important when creating this application. So for instance, in this blog, the first thing that I want to know is this is like a reminder, like a to-do list of the things that I need to create for the final application. First, I create the title. I need the title, the content, the author, and the date the article was published. Then I need a function to publish articles. I need some kind of array to store all the articles. That's it. And I need some way to get the articles. Once I have this created, I start writing the code. So for the title, the content, the author, and the date, I can create different variables like this: string title, string content, author, which will be an address, an Ethereum address. The date will be a number because when you get we're getting the timestamp. When you get the date, you're getting the unique timestamp of that date, and we need a unique identifier for each article. Now we can store all this in a struct. A struct is just a really nice way to store things like this, like articles. So I just create a struct called article and I put everything inside. After that, I create a new, I have all this. Now I need a function to publish articles. So let's create that function publish article. It will be a public function and it will have the title, which when you are creating functions, you want to use the underscore in front of the name of the variable. Otherwise, it will be overwritten by this other variable. So it's important to set the title, the parameters of the function with the underscore string the content, we also want the content, and that's pretty much it, because the author, the timestamp, the ID, we can get all those things inside. We don't need that information from the user, we already have it. Now we create a new article by doing this, my article, that is just instantiating an instance of the article, and then I do article, the title, which is this one, the content, the author, which is the sender, the person that activated this function is the author of that article. The timestamp is now is the current time in Unix timestamp, and the ID, for the ID we need to go to the fourth point, which is some way to get the articles. Some kind of array to store all the articles. We need an array of articles called articles, which will be public. And here we will store all the articles. Each article that will be generating will go here. Now for the ID of each article, we will just get the size of the array. We will take the last element and we will use that ID. So I can create a new variable called my ID, which will be articles.length. Then I go here and I set my ID. I have my article. Now I have to push that article to the array of articles. So let's go to articles dot push. We can use push because this is an undefined size array. It doesn't have a fixed size. And my article. Now I can return. I would like to return the ID to the user just so he knows it. Then returns like 6. Now I have the ID, everything together. Now I need a way to get those articles. Because this array is public, it already has a getter method for getting those articles. We don't need to create any function, we don't need anything because it's already there. So we have this point already. Just save this smart contract, copy the code, and go to remix.ethereum.org. remix.ethereum.org, and there just paste your code. And here you can see that there is an error. Yes, because when we are creating a struct, we need to define the type of struct. In this case, it's a memory struct when we are instantiating a struct. So just change that. You can use storage, but the best way to do it is to use the memory keyword for each instance of your struct. So we're doing that. We can remove these comments. And then if you have MetaMask, you need to download MetaMask. You just have to log in and go to Ropsten, because we will deploy the contract on the Ropsten network. In fact, if you don't have MetaMask, you can download it from here, metamask.io, and then just click your version. Now after doing that, you can get some test ether by clicking on buy and going to the faucet. Just click here and you will get some ether back for testing. It may take some time, so don't worry about that. I already have 9 ether for this Ropsten network, and I can use it for the smart contract. Now as you can see, I'm injecting the Web3, which is the MetaMask, injected MetaMask version, and I want to deploy the contract, so I click on deploy and I submit that transaction. We just have to wait for this to process. Okay, as you can see, the transaction is processed and we can use that information on Remix. You can see that we have the contract here. Copy the address of the contract by clicking on this button and paste it on a notepad for later. We will need that information. Now we can publish an article. For instance, this is the title, this is the content, and we can click on publish article. Then submit the transaction and wait for this to process again. Once this is completed, you will see the new article inside the blockchain. Let me see if this is already finished. Yes. The article is published, so we can go here to this articles button. We can go to the 0 article and click on that. You can see that we're getting the title, the content, the author, the timestamp, and the ID. We have everything together. Everything is working fine. Now that we have this, we will create a front-end for creating a decentralized application with Web3, JavaScript, HTML, and everything that we need. So if you go to Steemit, remember we're copying Steemit for creating a new version working on Ethereum. If you go to Steemit, you can see that it has this main block with all the articles in a list. We will do the same thing by taking the titles and all the information for each article. We will just create this block for our application. So first, go to your project folder and create a new file, an index.html, and then another one, an index.js. For the HTML, if you're using Atom, you can just write HTML and click the tab button, and you will see that everything is generated for you. Now in the title, just write the decentralized block and import our script, index.js. In this script, we will take the contract that we just created, we will initialize the contract, and we will execute the function to get all the articles. First, we need to start this Web3 application. If you're using MetaMask, you may be familiar with how it works. If you're not, basically it injects Web3 to your page. So you have Web3. If you open the developer tools by clicking on F12 on WordPress and the button F12, you will see that you have Web3 available for you with all the information that you need, and this Web3 too. So we will use that thing for creating our application. We don't even need to import Web3 because it's already there in this project with MetaMask. So just go to Window. Web3 is a new Web3 current provider. If we console log the thing, you will see that we have Web3. Let's open the developer tools here. We need to open the index. So the way we do that is we need to start a local server, because without a server this won't work. If you try to open the HTML file by opening this file, you will see, if you open the console, the developer tools, you see that Web3 is not defined, because here MetaMask is not working. You cannot inject Web3 on a page which starts with the file extension, as you can see. So we need to create a local server for this page. Simply open your terminal, your command line application or whatever. Then go to your project folder, desktop, decentralized, block 2. Install this. You need Node.js. You can download Node.js from Google, from Node.js. If you don't have Node.js, just get it from here by clicking on here, and then execute this command, npm i/g http server. That will install the HTTP server, which is a local server for your files. Simply write HTTP server on your folder, which is the decentralized block 2, and the application is available on this port. So you can go to localhost 8080 in this port. You can open the developer tools by pressing on F12 and you can see that we have, wait, this is not supposed to work like this. This is not supposed to happen, because what you're seeing right now is the final result from the other application that I created. So for some reason this is serving the old server. Let me go back and see what is going on. Let me see if we're seeing the message. Hi, okay. You can see Web3. We have the Web3 object, which we will use later. This Web3 object will basically allow us to talk to the blockchain. It's just the way that we have to communicate with the blockchain and our frontend. It's the link between those elements. So now that this is working, because we created a new version of Web3 with the current provider, this is necessary every time you create a project. This is necessary. This is just for starting the Web3 object. Now we need some way to create those articles. We need to get those articles and to show them to the user. The way we do that is we create a function called get all articles, and then we do all the necessary stuff for getting those articles. This function will be executed at the beginning, and it will do all that. But before doing that, we need to have the contract available for us, because we need the contract for using the functions of the contract. Here, basically, we will just execute the function. We will loop through over all the articles that we have here. We will get all the articles, and we will display those articles to the user. But before doing that, we need to be able to talk to the smart contract. We need to create an instance of this block smart contract. So for that reason, we need to create a function, a variable called contract. I like to create a contract instance variable. You can call it however you want. Then basically go to web3.eth.contract, and here contract.add. Here we put the ABI of the contract. The ABI is just like a summary of all the functions that the contract has available to help Web3 communicate with the contract. And add is just the address of the contract. We can take the address that you copied before, and you can paste the address here with quotes. Then we need the ABI here. The ABI, we can just create a new folder, a new file called abi.js, and create a variable called ABI. And then we can get the ABI from Remix. You go to Remix, click on compile, then on your smart contract click on details and copy the ABI. If you click on here, you will copy the ABI. This is the ABI. You can see it's like a summary of all the functions and all the basic information about the contract for using that information in your application. Then save that, close the file, and import it before the index. We want to import it before the index for using it. Just type script source abi.js. abi.js is the file that we just created for the ABI. For keeping things organized, it's just for keeping things organized. You can put the ABI inside this file, but for me, I like to do this because it's more clean. You don't have this big text file in the middle of your code. Yeah, once we do that, we can just write the ABI. The ABI, this variable is coming from here. You can see ABI, it's coming from there. Now that we have that, we should be able to access this contract. We can console log the contract. You can write several parameters for this console log for seeing all of them in order. I like to do this text and then the value. Now you can go to your page, refresh with F5, and you can see the contract here. You have the ABI, the address, and the functions. Articles, this is a function, and publish article. Article is a function because if you go to your code, it's a public variable. Like I said before, public variables have get method created. This is the same as saying this function get article public returns an article, and it just returns, you need the ID, return articles ID. When your variable is public like this, you have all of this created for you automatically with the name article. You can see article. So we don't have to create this because it's normal for people to use that information often. Now we want to get all these articles and show them to the user, like in the Steemit application. To do that, we go to the get all articles function, and we just go to contract instance dot articles, and we start with the 0 article and a callback. If you're familiar with JavaScript, callbacks are just things that execute once the processing is completed. This will go to the smart contract, will execute the function, and once the result is here, it will execute this information. You can console log the error on my articles. Let's reload the page. We are reloading this page. And remember that every time that we reload the page, this function is executed. And you can see that we have this article, this is the title, this is the content, the address, the timestamp, which is a big number, and the ID. Now, because this is a struct, we're getting an array in order. So the array 0 will be the title, array 1 the content, and so on. These things are big numbers. They are like special objects in JavaScript which have the value but converted to this kind of function for storing everything safely. It's a bit complicated, so don't worry about that for now. Now that we have the article, we need to loop through all the articles. How do we do that? How do we get all the articles? Right now we just got one article. This is the article, but we need to get all the articles. So instead of doing this, we create a for loop inside this. For y0 a minus, we need the size of the articles. The problem is that we don't have any way, right now we don't have any way to get the size of the articles. We don't know how many articles there are there. We cannot get that information easily. Well, first let's just put this size and then create the for loop. We will just go here and we will get all the articles like this. Now the size, this is the amount of articles. We can get that. We need to change the contract that we just created and create a function, a variable, a public variable, who will be like a counter of all the articles. Public articles counter. This is a variable which will have the number of articles at that moment. In this case it will be 0. Once you add an article it will be 1, and so on. We will use this information for the for loop, for looping over all the articles. Now this thing we can change the function. We can change this publish function. We can remove the my ID, and we can use the articles counter, because if there is one article, this will be 1. Everything will be okay. Now we can increase that, and we can remove this. We don't need the ID, or maybe we do. Yeah, let's keep returning the ID. Every time we make a change to a smart contract, we need to deploy it again. We need to change the API and the address of the contract in our application, because you may know that every time you publish a contract, it's there forever. You cannot remove it, cannot change it. So it's important to remember that. Just copy the code again, go to remix and paste the code. My ID, yes, this is a problem. Let's just do this. Uint my ID is equal this then let's do my ID. I mean, this could be a problem because this ++ is executing after this line, so we need to do this and then this. Now just copy the code again, paste it, and there are no errors right now. We can remove the past smart contract. We just delete that and we deploy this new contract. Now once this is deploying, while this is deploying, click on compile and get the ABI again. Copy the ABI, go to abi.js and paste that code, that new code. This code will be different because we changed the functions and we added a new variable. It's every time you make a change you need to update the ABI. There are frameworks for making this easier, for making this automatically, but for now let's just do this manually. Close that thing and let's wait for this to deploy. We have to wait until this is completed. You can see the ABI is the same thing, you don't have to change anything here, but the address, you need to change the address of the thing. And you can see that the contract is deployed. Let's just save that address. Every time you publish a contract, it's very important to copy the address and write it down in a notepad or whatever place you want to use for making sure your address is safe, because if you lose your address, your contract is gone, you don't know where it is. You can go to MetaMask, but that's not the best way for doing it. So copy the address and paste the address in this place. This is for accessing that contract in Web3. Now we have this articles counter available for us. We can get that information by going, we need that information for this for loop, if you remember. So to get the articles counter, just go to contract instance dot articles counter. I don't know if this is a callback or not. Let's see. Let's console log this and see what we get. Counter. Because in the new version of Web3, in the 1.0, you can use promises which will return immediately. You don't have to wait for the callbacks. But in this case, I'm not really sure if we are getting the callback or not. So save that, go to your web page and reload the page. Yes, it does not support synchronous methods. Yes, we need a callback. So let's remove the console log and create a callback like before. My counter. Then here we have the counter. We can console log that. Let's see. Reload the page. Amount of articles, of course this is not defined, but we have the counter here, which is a big number. This is not a number. This is an object with different variables inside. We need this to be a number. So we get the counter and we convert that counter to a number by just parsing that parse int, and that's it. Now you get the amount of articles, which is 0 in this case. Now let's remove this console log and put all this for loop inside, because we need to execute the for loop after we get the counter. So we can replace the variable my counter is equal my counter, and then let's rename this because it's quite confusing right now. Rename, Control F, my counter. Let's replace this with amount of articles. Let's replace all. Now that is more easy to understand. So we have the amount of articles. We're getting those articles one by one and we are showing them to the user. Right now we are just logging that information. Let's see if this is working. Okay, there are no errors. There are 0 articles, that's why this is not executing. So we need to add some articles in this case. I can do this. This is the content. Let's publish that article. Let's do this again. This is the title. This is the content again. Now we have to wait for the miners to process those transactions. You can see that there are 200 transactions here, and we need to wait until that is processed. You can click on the transaction to see if it's already mined or not. It's pending. We're doing this for making sure that the articles are being published and we can get each one of them. We need to make sure that it's working, of course. Every time you're making an application, you must make sure that it is working, all the functions are working as expected and they're doing their thing. Later we will test all of this to make sure that there are no errors, there are no bugs. But for now, let's make sure that the basics are working. Reload the page. Okay, the transactions have been processed. You can see that the counter is now 2, we have 2 articles. And we can just go to our application, reload the page. And you see that we have this is the title, this is the test. So we have the articles here. Both of the articles are here from the smart contract. We're getting this information from the blockchain right now. And now we have to show that information to the user. Remember that in Steemit we are just creating a blog. We said that we are going to create this big blog and we are going to show each article like this in a list. For now we will show all the information in a list, and then we're just making the basic application. We don't need to create fancy works, we don't need to add animations, we don't need CSS. We're just creating a list with this information and want to show it to the user. So let's close this. In your application, now let's create a variable called articles HTML, which will be an empty string. If you don't initialize this variable, it will be undefined, which is a problem, because if you try to add text to that, it will be a problem, but don't worry about that for now. Just create this variable and let's put all the content inside here. So let's add that information here. So we need to add that information. In this case, the title. Let's just say title. Let's create a div. Add div. Title is the title. My articles 0 article, because the 0 is the title. Remember that we are inside this place and 0 is this thing, the title. Now we need just add a BR for spacing. The content, I think it's 1, right? Well, this name is not really precise. Let's change that for my article, or just article. Replace all, and that's it. We have the article. Article 0 is the title. Article 1 is the content. Now we need the others. Author is 2. Then we have the timestamp it was published. Now we just say date article 3, and we need to parse that information. And the ID. A again we need to parse that uint article 4. That's it. Let's reload the page and see what we get. Well, right now we are not putting that information anywhere, we're just creating a variable with all that information, and we need to publish that information to the blog, to the HTML. So instead of saying hi, let's create a div called root and close it. And after this is executed, we can go here, document.query selector. We will put the content inside here, inside root. All this will go inside root. Select root. Then insert adjacent HTML, which is a function for doing all of this. Articles HTML, and well, this is like this before, and this is a JavaScript function which inserts the article, the content, this HTML, before ending this thing, so before the end, so if it has this content, it will insert the content just below this. You can decide to insert the content before, at the beginning, or like this. So we are just inserting the article here, and let's see how that looks. Let's reload the page, and you can see that we have the this attest. Now there's a problem here because we're looping. How many articles do we have? Let's see how many articles. Amount of articles, because we don't want to get this same thing repeated again. So let's reload this. We have 2 articles, so this is 2. This thing is the number 2 right now, and it's looping 2 times. It should be looping 0 and 1. When it gets to 2, it should stop. I don't know why it is generating this thing again. Oh, I know why. Because we have this variable. Let's just remove this variable, because there are different ways to insert the content in your HTML, because this is a decentralized application, a web app whose server is the smart contract. The thing is, in each web app we're generating the content in JavaScript, and we're putting that content inside the HTML with the query selector, like I just did. There are different ways to do that, but my point is that let's just get the content in a variable like this one and publish all of this at the end. Right now it should be working because we are separating. Before this it was adding this content, then it was adding this, and it was publishing both of these on the same place, which is not correct. So that is working, and we have the articles. Now let's add some spacing at the end. It's not working. Maybe again. Yes. So right now you can see that we have this text, the title, the content, and so on. We could format all of that to make it look better in a blog, but that will take us too much time. I will show you how to do it, but it's not necessary. Right now we have all that we need to create this application. Right now it's mostly done. We have the information from the server, we have the smart contract, the server, the smart contract, and we have the web app who is communicating with MetaMask and showing the content from that smart contract. We have everything together. It's basically completed, but right now I'm going to show you just a little bit of CSS for making this look great, because right now it's not looking great. So let's do that. Let's remove all these you know, these naming things. Oh, one thing I forgot is the date. The date, as you can see, it's a big number. It's just something like that. If you copy that and you go to your developer tools, you can use the date object in JavaScript. You just type date and the number. You can see that it says Monday, May. It's perfect for me. It's the date that we are in. So we just do this. We just create the date like this, and we are formatting that timestamp. This is in Unix. We're formatting that timestamp to a human readable timestamp, which is this one. The problem is that we're getting all this information. We may want to get only the time it was published. There are different ways to get the information, but let's just keep this as it is, just for keeping everything simpler. So let's remove all this. The ID, we don't even need it. Well, yeah, I think we need it for later. Let's just remove all this, the title, the content, and let's create a new class which will be called article. Then create a new file called style.css or index. I like to call it style. Go to your HTML and link that thing. Link in Atom. You just type link, then press tab, and you have all this created for you. Style.css, importing the style, and we are creating this article class. Before that, we need a container. So in the root will be a container with the size that we decided before. So let's make that. It's already, I don't know if you're familiar with CSS. It's just making this page look good. The root will be a block, and inside that we will have all the articles inside, and that's it. The root will have a fixed width of, let's say, 700 pixels. It will be margin auto. This is for aligning the content in the center of the page, and that's it. Let's change the body. The body is everything containing all of this, and let's change the color of that background color. Let's make it gray. Now let's reload the page and see how that looks. Well, this should be white, background color white, and this is white smoke. White smoke is just a very soft white gray color. You can see it's too soft. Let's change that to light gray, and we have this. Let's add some padding 50 pixels. Border radius, this is for rounding the borders. Let's use 20 pixels, and that's it. See how that looks. Also, now it's looking much better, as you can see. Also the font, let's use sans serif. Sans serif is just a rounded font. Right now we're using serif, which is like this pointy font. Sans serif is like this, using rounded. It's easier to look at. And yeah, we have the page. We have each article. Each of these is an article. Let's format that also by changing this class object. Okay, first thing that we need to change is the color, the background color, just to make it look nice. Let's use a light blue, for instance. Well, I will use a custom color. In Atom there is this feature where you can select the color and type it like this. I will use this green. If you don't know the name of the color, simply go to Google and type hexadecimal colors. Then just copy whatever color you want and paste that code in here. I'm using RGB, which is a different naming for the colors, but it's the same thing. Let's see how this looks. It has this powerful, maybe too powerful green. Let's add some margin. We want to separate each article from each other, so margin bottom will be 10 pixels. It will have a padding of 20 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Okay, it has a padding. This green is too powerful in my opinion, so let's change that to something softer like this. And also, let's remove this last spacing. BR is just adding another space at the end of the place of the article. Okay, that looks way better. We have each article. Let's round these borders too. Border radius. When it comes to design, you can do lots of different things. It depends on your preference on how you want to make this page. For me, I like to keep a simple design, everything aligned and organized, as you can see. Border radius, 10 pixels. Reload this, and that's it. It's looking better. Now let's make this bigger, because this is the title. We need to make the title bigger. So let's add another div in here containing that thing. This will be class title, and the title will be font size 15 pt, font weight bold. This is the title. Okay, that's a powerful title, and we need the address somewhere over here. Let's just do this. The article by, and here we will have the author. Let's use a span tag. The span tag is a block which is inside the content, is not in a separate place, it's in the same line. That's why we're using span. If we were using a div, it will separate the content, because it's a block size element. If you know CSS, you know what I mean. So author, let's change this. Let's add the author class, and let's just use this. Article 2 is the author, if you remember. Yes, that's author. Let's use that in here. We can remove this, and the author will be font. Well, we can just use opacity 0.5 and font size 10 pt. We don't want to make this too big, it's just for information. Oh boy, it's not showing because we need to use this template tags from JavaScript. Okay, this is a problem. This also should go inside, just like this. Wait, just like this. This is the title by this user. That's okay, no problem. I mean, this by is not the best thing, but we can keep that for now. The content, we will keep this as it is, and the time is a problem. We can put the time just below the title for showing people that information. So let's take the title, and below the title, let's take the date, and below the title, my main language is Spanish, and English for me is a different experience. I have trouble finding the words, the pronunciation, as you can see. But it's just a matter of time that I get better at this. We have the date here, and of course we want to make this look like the author. We can just copy and paste the same class for now. We want to reduce the focus of this thing. This is the content, and the ID, we will use the ID in the diff as an identifier. If we want to, for instance, if we want to find this article and we want to delete it or whatever, it's always good to have the ID over there. So we have the ID and we can reload the page. This is a test, this is the title, whatever, this is the content again, and that's it. We have our decentralized blog application. Interestingly, funny enough, it's almost an hour of recording, which is like, it's really interesting how is this possible that exactly at 1 hour I'm finishing this tutorial. Well, there you have it. This is a front-end application without server. It's decentralized. All the information is on the blockchain. It cannot be deleted. There is no function to delete this contract. You publish an article and it is there forever. Nobody controls it. The good thing of the blockchain, you cannot control the information. It's free for everybody. It's available forever unless the blockchain dies, but that is really hard because there are miners and so on. And that's it. We have the test, the title. What else? Okay, that's it. You now know how to create a smart contract, how to create a decentralized application, how to put everything together, how to deploy contracts on the Ropsten. If you want to deploy this contract on the mainnet, which is the network where Ether has real value, you just go here, change this to mainnet, main Ethereum network, and you deploy the contract. You reload the remix page and you deploy the contract with your injected Web3. The only difference is that you will pay real Ether for the gas. In this case I don't have Ether for this, so let's just reject that. And it's the same thing. It works the same way. Ropsten is really good for testing, for seeing how everything will work before using your real Ether, because it's expensive. And that's it. You have your application. It's deployed on a smart contract. It has a front end with Web3. We're using MetaMask, Remix. You know all the essentials for creating your application. You now can create your own smart contracts. You can create your own decentralized applications. Of course, this is just the beginning. There are a lot more different things. But with this information, you can create your own application. You can deploy it. You can deploy it for whatever place, and you can get paid works for this thing. Hope you find this information useful, and see you in the next video.